Hi everyone, this is Master Matt, and today we're going to be going over a few active stretches that you can do as muscle strengthening exercises. If you've seen my videos in the past, then you know that active stretching involves lifting or bringing your muscles to a certain position under their own power without any type of resistance. So that would be lifting your muscles into the air, or if in a seated position, reaching towards a muscle without grabbing onto something or having an external force pushing on you. So I tend to practice these aside from my flexibility stretches because these are geared more towards your muscle strengthening. So I do this to help strengthen with my kicks and things like that. So I'm just going to show you a few that you can follow along with, or you can add into your routine anywhere you feel fit. So we're going to start. You don't need anything. I have a pole here just in case you want to use that for support on certain stretches. For your balance, but you don't need anything else. We're going to start with a quad stretch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift one leg and I'm going to bring my heel towards my thigh, but I'm not going to pull it like I normally would. That would be a passive or a static stretch. So we're going to allow our quad to get to as far as it can, and we're just going to kind of contract the muscles there. That's what's important, is that I'm actively contracting the muscles, and that's what's going to over time strengthen them. So you want to hold these for a few seconds. You can hold them a minute if you want, but just doing things like this is important because you can be really flexible and use apparatuses and use help of other people or your own pulls to help your stretches, and that will make you more flexible. But in something like martial arts, I'm going to switch sides here to the other side. In something like martial arts, if you have flexibility, you can do those high kicks and things like that, but there will be no power behind them, and that's just as important as having a flexible leg or whatever muscle that you're working on when you're doing these techniques. So obviously you're not going to get as far as you could when you have an external force pulling, but that's the point, is that your muscles need to work for themselves as well, because if they always have something to assist them, then that's all they're going to ever be able to do, is get to a certain position when they're assisted. So you always want to mix things up and do stretches like this so that you can activate your muscles in different ways. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is a hamstring stretch from standing position. We've done this multiple times before. It's just a front kick hold. So we're going to hold our leg out in front of us and just kind of, like I said, contract your muscles as you hold it as high as you can, but whatever's comfortable. And again, you can just balance yourself on a wall, because using a wall like this would not take away this being an active stretch. But if I was to put my foot on the wall or put my foot on something else, then that would. But the muscles being used in this are not being assisted by anything other than themselves, and that's what an active stretch is. Good, I'm going to do the same on the other leg, lifting and holding. Okay, you'll feel a different type of soreness when you do these types of stretches, and I'll factor these into different kick strengthening exercises that I do, but it's not the same as your everyday static stretch, which we do those a lot more in general, which is good. Like I said, flexibility is its own thing that you need to get, but you can't neglect the strength training part of your exercise. Very good. Okay, next we're going to do a little oblique stretch. So I'm going to get into a partial lunge. So I don't want to be on my knee. I want to be off the ground, legs spread pretty good, and then I'm just going to sit into a comfortable lunge, make sure I'm balanced, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my body into the stretch. So I'm going to turn here, and I should start feeling that in my abdomen. I don't want to lean with this stretch. Try to keep it straight. And again, don't push or use your legs to help you, because then that would mean this is not an active stretch. So you want your abs pulling themselves in this position. All right, good. We're gonna switch over to the other side and do the same thing. Get into my comfortable partial lunge here. And then I'm just gonna turn my body until I feel that pull here. I mean, to me, all the stretches that you do, if you're doing them correctly, are uncomfortable. But this type is a different kind of discomfort. Because at least if you're grabbing onto something, you can just kind of let your body relax to an extent because you're being held in that position. But in this, as soon as you let go of the position, then you've lost the stretch. So it's just a different type of feeling, but it's good for you. Okay, great. We're gonna do a couple on the ground. So I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna put one hamstring out and one leg in, and I'm just gonna reach towards my foot, but I wanna make sure I don't grab it. So if you can't grab your foot, you might be used to grabbing your leg or your pants, and if you can, you're used to doing that. But in this stretch, I want to let my hamstring be what pulls me forward, not my hands pulling me forward. Okay, I can't get nearly as far as I could if I was grabbing onto my foot. But what's important here is that my hamstring is doing the work for me, and it's being worked in a different manner. So it's a very normal stretch that we're used to seeing, but we're doing it differently so that we can get different results from it. And if you're super flexible, then you can reach out as far as you can and just bring your chest until you're folded over your knee. But you just want to make sure you're not pulling on anything, and then you'll be in an active stretch that whole time. We're going to switch legs. Same thing here, reaching forward. Like I said, you don't want to expect to come out of this more flexible, but you should be stronger and your muscles should be able to handle more. And I just equate this to kicking because I'm a martial artist. But you can really tell who practices their leg strengthening when they're doing kicks. Just anywhere that you see tournaments, things like that. One just looks like somebody's just swinging their leg up or just lifting it up. It looks like a feather versus when you have the power behind the kick. We're going to go with both hamstrings forward. When you have the power behind the kick, you notice that snap a lot more. And that's one, due to practicing your leg strengthening, but two, practicing the forms of the kicks themselves. Okay, and you know, a lot of people are naturally flexible. I'm not. But it's just important to get a wide spectrum in your training to cover all your bases. Okay, very good. We're going to finish up with our figure 4 hamstring stretch, which you know is when I wrap or lift one ankle over the other knee, and I'm going to lay back. Again, we're used to grabbing here and pulling. With this one, we're not going to do that. We're going to let this knee is going to push into this hip. Okay, so this one's like a gray area because I'm stretching this right hip and hamstring, and I'm using my left knee to push. So if you're thinking like a really legit active stretch, then you would be probably just having this leg pull in. But you're still having to actively push with this knee, so you're not able to just relax in this position. So it's still an active stretch. Point is, I'm not putting it on a wall or grabbing it so that I can just hold it and just sit there. I can feel it actively working throughout the whole stretch, and that's how I know it's an active stretch. We're going to do the same on the other side. It takes a lot more energy to do this type of stretching. It's harder to breathe, so you need to make sure that you are focusing on that as well. But this is something good for you to add in or do every once in a while when you're doing your stretching. Very good. So those are just a few examples of what we call active stretching, mostly with our legs, but we did have that oblique stretch in there. You can come up with your own stretches. Just find positions where you have to hold your muscles. It's really easy to do. Just think of the static stretch that you do and just remove the part of it where you're grabbing onto something or pushing something with your body or having someone else do that for you. And hopefully you can implement this into your training because, like I said, it's just as important to have strength in your muscles as it is to have the flexibility as a martial artist. I appreciate you guys watching and keep training.